Yeah.
I'm fascinated by Bitcoin and the American dream. Bitcoin has become really intertwined now with US politics. And I know some people aren't fans of this. I actually kind of am. I would rather have regulatory protection than too much regulatory oversight. I think also regulatory protection in the US incentivizes the rest of the world.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, you know, we're trying to influence, and really this book is much more about sort of giving value to the people that we aimed it at. We aimed it specifically at politicians. And a lot of them just have no idea about Bitcoin. Right? They're like, what the hell is it? Wait. All these people are calling in about the infrastructure bill. We're kind of in a panic mode. They don't even know what we want, what we're about, or anything like that. So this book is aimed at them. And it's specifically so that they can get value out of it, whether or not they support Bitcoin. And, you know, we specifically have a chapter in there about the Bitcoin voter. It's not who you think it is. It's not a bunch of, you know, white, libertarian, you know, code bros or something like that are anarcho-capitalists. It's not. I mean, that's a small segment of it, but there's a lot of other people. You know, we point out in the book that on a per capita basis, Black people are more likely to own Bitcoin than white people, at least in the US. I don't know about London or whatever, but those are important things for these people to know. And they need to know these things so that they can make an informed decision. If they are going to oppose it, well, know that that's a significant part of the Black community that you're going to be alienating. If you're opposing it, that's a significant part of like U.S. veterans, for example, that are into Bitcoin and so on. There are lots of voting blocks that are part of Bitcoin now that you really need to know about as a politician. And if you don't know about them, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Have you had any direct feedback from any politicians that have read it? Do you know if it's got in the hands of
anyone? Well, it's fairly new. We've been handing it out like candy. But I mean, the few people that have read it, they like it. They're very appreciative. And, you know, it's part of the 501c4 that CJ and Amanda and I are doing. CJ and Amanda were on with you about this book.
In DC.
Yeah, in DC. So the idea is that this would give them some good info. And, you know, the way things in DC work is that you have to help them before they can help you, right?
Well, it's interesting because you've got the incumbent and then you've got the challengers. It seems like a lot of challengers running for Congress are now becoming Bitcoiners. And who knows whether they're using it as a hack. Eric Adams proved it was a hack and, you know, proved to be a little bit disingenuous perhaps or a bit uninformed. But there is we've got a lot right. What's that guy? Brian Solstice?
I can't remember his name.
I mean, he reached out. We've had so many reach out to us wanting to come on the show. And sadly, it's just no pretty much every time now because they want to make the same show and they want to use us as a platform. And it's like, if you've got nothing new and interesting to say, we're not interested. We will be having Josh Mandel on. We'll be challenging on some non-Bitcoin things. But there's a lot of them coming out now. That guy I mentioned,
I'm trying to find
him. You remember him?
I do. I know exactly who you mean.
He just tweeted out. Well, you can check it because Breaking Dennis Porter just retweeted him. But he's basically said, I'm running for Congress, and one of the platforms I'm running on is making Bitcoin legal tender. Whether or not that's important or not, the challenges to the incumbents, a lot of them are now saying they support Bitcoin, which is great if it gets us to protection.
Right. And they're seeing that it's a large constituency. And this wasn't something that we really realized would be the case, like, say, 6-7 years ago, because it was, okay, it's this tiny corner. They're going to need some industry representation. So, like, a lot of the organizations in DC, when they were formed, you know, like Coin Center, Blockchain Association and stuff like that, they thought they were, you know, representing these companies. There's no real, like, lobbying work for the actual voters, right? Like for the actual people that are into Bitcoin. And turns out that's a significant number. I think DCG released something that said it's like 23 million people in the US have some exposure to Bitcoin.
14%, I heard the other day.
Yeah, and those are big numbers. That's approaching AARP territory. They're one of the biggest lobbying organizations in DC. Like the numbers are starting to matter. So a lot of politicians are looking at this. one of the most interesting races that I'm watching this cycle is the Ohio Senate race. So the incumbent there is retiring, and you have 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats that are sort of like the top 5, right? Like you have many more people running.
That is Josh Mandel, right?
Yeah,
Morgan
Harper
yeah.
versus Josh Mandel, I think, on the Democrat side, and you got, I think, J.D. Vance and a couple of others on the Republican side. But all 5 of them are saying good things about Bitcoin.
Yeah, but it's how much they understand. So we had Morgan on the show. She was fine. She was lovely. But I saw her debate against Josh Mandel, and he crushed her. I mean, and he was great on that. And I am conscious because I've been mentioning Josh on the show a bunch of times, and a couple of people written to me and say, yeah, you need to be aware of some of his other policies. And I think that's an important thing where we've got people claiming to be single issue voters. Let's be careful here. Let's also be aware of what these people stand for as well. I don't agree with just being a single issue voter. I understand why they might be, but let's not just rail people into being single issue voters. Let's just be aware these politicians might stand for other things, and they could rug pull us.
Yeah, well, that's true.
It's your country.
The big thing is that it's like, what does it mean to be pro Bitcoin? Because you can say good things about Bitcoin, right? You can be like, oh yeah, I'm all for innovation, and I'm all for financial inclusion, and I'm all for self sovereignty and all that. But what policies are they going to actually so we need, and this is one of the things that we're working on as that 501c4 is, okay, how are we going to measure success? Like, if these people are for it, what policies are they also for? Because you can say good things about Bitcoin to get votes, but we have to be like, hey, like, they're saying good things, but they're opposed to these pieces of legislation. This is where we have to kind of hold them accountable.